Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Welcome to EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
You're listening to Eddie Frederick, where good values make great radio.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. Wonderful. And welcome. We really and truly are living in the best piece of geography in the world, you know. When you think of how beautiful Grenada is, we're getting a little I suppose it's pre-April showers, because God knows we need it. We seem to have what is called the beginning of an extended and protracted dry season. So we have to be careful, folks. We have to conserve water. We have to call Nawasa when we see a pipe that seems to be, bursted somewhere in the village, in the community where we live. We have to make those calls. Very, very important for us to do our civic duties as Grenadians, people who love this place, because if it's going to be an extended dry season, you know what? We're going to be rationing soon. So, folks, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is, of course, our 260th edition of EDDIE-FICATION, as we proceed to motivate and inspire you to think critically of things around us, whether of general human interest or even current affairs. In the past week, we have had some developments, and if we actually paid attention to them all, we would have been able to glean loads of valuable lessons from them that can enrich our lives and help us to change direction for the better. So stay tuned, folks, because this edition is going to be off the chain. So come on, I'm giving you a little time. Tag people, tag your friends. Share, 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 because you want them to get it live and direct. This program, this edition today is going to be a very filling one. Our angel number for this week is 260, 260. A combination of energies, vibrations, and attributes of the numbers, of course, 2, 6, and 0. The number 2 resonates with balance, harmony, adaptability, diplomacy, and of course, cooperation and service to others. The number 6 represents home, family, domesticity, responsibility, love, nurturing, and material needs. But the number 0 is a powerful amplifier that enhances the energies of the numbers it appears with. Therefore, the angel number 260 is all about finding balance and harmony in your domestic and material life while serving your family and loved ones. It is a reminder that you're blessed with abundance, but it's also your responsibility, folks, to share it with others. Too often these days, we are finding that among the most poisonous of relationships are actually the ones disguised as family. We've got to bring this into check. And of course, get it balanced, because family losing their way, it would appear. It's getting out of hand. But serious boundaries are necessary with vigilant enforcement too. So, as you come into the room today, folks, please share, comment, like, love, and interact as you usually do. Let's have a great time today, especially as my consistency at total, unbridled frankness can be correctly anticipated. You're going to get a load of that today, folks. And who vex, according to my deceased mother, God rest her soul, can read the text. Our discourse today is guided by the topic: when one is driven by status, massive pressure results from status starvation. Hello? When one is driven by status, massive pressure results from status starvation. Come on, folks, remember, tag those that you see missing. All they probably need is a little reminder. And otherwise, hit that share button, because we are off the chain today. You see, the concept of status starvation and its psychological and even emotional consequences is a fascinating and deeply relevant topic, especially in a world where social status, professional achievement, and external validation often dominate our sense of self-worth. Today, you are invited to explore with me this topic in detail with a view to turning the tide in your life. And that is, of course, if you are status inclined. Being status inclined, folks, is actually a mark of how much you really are not self-aware. It is evidenced by your behavior that follows your status inclination. You see, understanding status and its role in identity is very, very paramount. Status, whether derived from professional success, social standing, wealth, or even recognition, often becomes intertwined with one's identity. For many, status serves as a marker of achievement, a source of pride, and a way to gain respect and validation from others. You see, when status is a primary driver in your life, folks, it can shape how individuals perceive themselves and how they believe others perceive them, because it really matters to them. This can drive one to live a false life and adapt to the fake it till you make it philosophy, but instead, such people end up faking it till they die. You see, reliance on external markers of success can be precarious. Status is often fleeting, subject to change due to circumstances beyond one's control. Economic downturns, job loss, aging, or shifts in social values. All these constitute the dynamics of life. When status is lost or even diminished, individuals may experience what is termed status starvation, status blackout, a profound sense of emptiness, inadequacy, or pressure to regain what was lost, and at any cost, as we are witnessing right before our very eyes. Status starvation can lead to significant psychological and emotional distress. You see, when status is a core part of one's identity, its loss can create a void. Individuals may struggle to answer the question, who am I without this status? This can lead to feelings of confusion, purposelessness, and a loss of direction. Without status, they lose their lofty friends who were using them while they had status. But you see, that in itself totals identity crisis. You see, the desire to regain lost status can create immense pressure. This pressure may manifest as anxiety, stress, or even burnout, especially if the individual feels privately, when they are alone with their conscience, that they are failing to meet the shift in societal expectations and standards. So what does that really amount to? Pressure and anxiety. If self-worth is tied to status, its loss can lead to feelings of worthlessness or inadequacy. Isn't that interesting, folks? This can spiral into depression, self-doubt, or a sense of failure. You see, that kind of pressure can lead to blackouts because of the intensity of the impact of the starvation. So you call that self-worth erosion. Status often determines social circles and relationships. You see, losing status can lead to exclusion or a sense of alienation from one's peer group, exacerbating feelings of loneliness and even rejection. If illustrious members of one's peer group continually pass on, this presents a new challenge to the equation of status starvation. So what do you have as a result of all of this? Social isolation. You see, society and culture play a significant role in perpetuating the importance of status. In many cultures, success is measured by visible markers, job titles, income, possessions, or even influence. One may have in social media, for instance. You see, this external validation can create a vicious cycle where individuals constantly strive for more, fearing the consequences of falling behind. You see, the rise of social media has actually amplified this phenomenon. Platforms like Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, just to name a few, often showcase curated, idealized versions of people's lives, creating unrealistic benchmarks for success. This can intensify the pressure to maintain or achieve status, making its loss even more devastating. Folks, this thing is serious business, This is no joke. You see, overcoming status starvation requires a shift in mindset and a focus on internal validation rather than external markers of success. Here are some strategies that you can employ if you fall into this category. And it's never too late, folks. It is never too late. So for those of you who are hiding to listen, when you eventually listen, you're going to learn something here today that may help you to turn your lives around. You would find it necessary to broaden your definition of success to include personal growth, relationships, health, and contributions to others. This can help reduce the overemphasis on status. So what should we do? Redefine success. We have to focus on activities and goals that bring intrinsic satisfaction rather than those pursued solely for external recognition. So what should we do? Cultivate intrinsic motivations. We have to develop emotional resilience by practicing self-compassion, mindfulness, and even gratitude. We are seeing that we're living in a society today where gratitude is a word in a book placed in the drawer of a desk in a very dark room that has been locked and the key thrown. People receive gifts or things from you, kindness from you today, as if they were in a relay race. They just put their hand back, take it and run without looking back to say thanks. So what should we do, folks? We have to build resilience, and we cannot build resilience without gratefulness. Folks, we have to surround ourselves with people who value us for who we are, the authentic us, and not for our status. Genuine relationships can provide a sense of belonging and support during challenging times. I would never have thought that at this stage in my life, I would still have one or two people hanging around me for the status they can enjoy by their association. Up to recently, I was looking at one closely and had the opportunity to close in on that particular one and jettison that one altogether. Folks, we have to seek meaningful connections, but we have to stay awake. We have to remain aware so that they can't take you for no goddamn fool. Isn't that something, folks? We also, folks, have to acknowledge and accept the feelings that come with losing status, vulnerability. Acknowledge and accept the feelings that come with losing status. We have to accept that, folks. Vulnerability can be a powerful tool for growth and self-discovery. So we must embrace vulnerability. You see, status starvation, while painful, can also be an opportunity for profound personal transformation, folks. It forces us to confront deeper questions about their values, about priorities, and a sense of purpose. This state is a wonderful place to reconnect with one's humility. By shifting the focus from external validation to internal fulfillment, we as individuals can build a more stable and resilient sense of self. What did I say just now? It is never too late. In fact, as long as we're breathing, we're just in time. You can be at whatever age, lower in your 20s or higher approaching your 80s. Stock taking has no expiration. Stock taking is necessary, folks. You see, in the long term, this shift can lead to greater happiness and well-being. Research in positive psychology suggests that intrinsic goals such as personal growth, relationships, and community involvement are more strongly associated with lasting happiness than extrinsic goals like wealth or even fame. Folks, a man told me once that it is God's will that anything obtained dishonestly must end up in the hands of honest people over time. Folks, that's deep, that's profound, you know. So why are we always being so focused on thieving to get ahead, cheating to get ahead? Our ill-gotten gains will vanish from us. We are witnesses, folks, to a lot of people in the society who at one time had plenty. And today, folks, they have nothing. And you know what is interesting? Even when they were losing what they had, they could not control the loss. They could do nothing about it. Because the power of God is just mighty. Karma never loses an address. You see, status starvation is real and a challenging phenomenon at that, particularly in a world that often equates success with external achievements. However, it also presents an opportunity for us to reevaluate what truly matters in life. By focusing on intrinsic values, building resilience, and cultivating meaningful relationships, individuals can navigate the pressures of status loss and emerge with a stronger, more authentic sense of self. We have people in our society, folks, too many, who are authentic frauds, and they are fraudulently authentic. Ultimately, folks, true fulfillment comes not from the approval of others or the attainment of status, but from living a life aligned with one's values and passions. Recognizing this can help alleviate the untold pressure that status starvation brings and pave the way for more balanced and satisfying existence. Each of us has a desire to improve and develop in life, folks. When one's arsenal of rubbish is depleted, invention of dotishness becomes the last resort. Sawandi Fabio Sam. Folks, we have philosophers of Grenada, you know. Don't get tied up, you know. But Grenada is a great place, and I know that. There is greatness within every Grenadian. So be warned, therefore. When one is driven by status, massive pressure results from status starvation. Let's take a little break, and we'll come back with a lot more, because there's a lot more where this came from. You see where this is going? And it's going to get more graphic as we go along, folks. So far, so good.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned, where information is power.
Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG.
The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful. So we come back with a lot more smoke. For those of you just joining or who joined late, welcome. Do the honorable thing. Tag your friends and get some more people in the room. Let them know what is happening here today, because as I told you, we're on fire. We are on fire. You know, it's just unchained here today. What causes one to be status-oriented? Folks, is there insecurity somewhere in the mix? I believe so. You know, my research actually exposed that the drive to be status-oriented often stems from a complex interplay of psychological, social, and even cultural factors. Insecurity is indeed a significant part of the mix, but it's not the only factor. I want us to just do a little breakdown here of key causes of status orientation and the role insecurity plays. Insecurity is a major driver of status orientation. You see, when individuals lack a strong sense of self-worth and confidence, they may seek external validation to fill that void. Status, whether in the form of wealth, job titles, social media followers, or even material possessions, can serve as a tangible measure of success and a way to prove one's value to oneself and even to others. Many people fear being seen as inadequate or inferior. Status becomes a way to mask these insecurities and project an image of success and competence. So what is that? The fear of inadequacy. If someone's self-worth is tied to achievements or even external approval, they may constantly seek status to feel validated. Just look at the many people who have used politics right here among us, both present and past. Without that status, they are invisible to us. Why, therefore, do we as a people not become critical thinkers enough to stop choosing any and every regular ragamuffin to lead us politically? We are surely at fault, as we never put too much thought into our choices. And hence we end up with village idiots in leadership positions. Village jackasses in leadership positions. Society and culture, folks, play what? A powerful role in shaping our values and priorities. You see, from a young age, many people are taught to equate success with status symbols like high-paying jobs, prestigious titles, or luxury possessions. In many cultures, status is seen as a marker of worthiness, respect, and even success. This can create pressure to conform to these standards. You see, advertising, movies, and social media, they often glorify status, creating aspirational ideals that people feel compelled to pursue. Look at the branch managers for colonialism and imperialism. They feel how they dress, they must dress so. Even if they're going in a hot hall and preparing themselves to be stroke candidates, they are not even mindful that they could look elegant but still suit the occasion by being casual. So when you put the two together, you get elegant casual, because that is our environment. But instead, they will dress like the colonial master, so they mimic the slave that thief the master's clothes. And they want to tell you about how you are dressed while they prepare for their stroke. You see, from an evolutionary perspective, humans are wired to seek status because it historically conferred survival advantages, such as access to resources, mates, and even protection. While modern society has evolved, these primal instincts still influence the behavior of a lot of dunce people. And we have a lot of these dunce people here, nothing to do with social strata, you know. Oh, we have a plethora of dunceness parading at all levels in our society here, folks. Dunceness and dumbness. Humans are social creatures who naturally form hierarchies. Status can signal one's position in the hierarchy, providing a sense of security and even control. So what is that? Hierarchy and dominance. You see, being low status can feel threatening, as it may lead to social exclusion or a lack of resources. This fear can drive people to pursue status as a way to ensure their place in the group. So fear of exclusion breeds desperation, as we can see for the many status-starved among us. You see, fear of exclusion causes people to spend their last cent to look like something going on. And when they go home, their belly touching their back because they're hungry. You see, the human tendency to compare ourselves to others is a key factor in status orientation. Social comparison theory suggests that we evaluate our own worth based on how we measure up to others. Sad. You see, we have to watch that. Even if someone is doing well objectively, they may feel inadequate if they perceive others to be doing better. But folks, we know people like that. This can fuel a relentless pursuit of status. I have known people who come across as wanting you to do well, just as long as you do not do better than them. I have seen the realization of this cause dissipation of long-standing friendships. Keeping up with the Joneses, folks, is another problem that we have. We see that in Grenada here all the time. The desire to match or surpass the status of peers can create a competitive cycle where status becomes a never-ending race. In modern consumer-driven societies, status is often linked to material possessions. Advertising and marketing reinforce the idea that buying certain products or brands will elevate one's social standing in the eyes of others. You see, luxury items are often marketed as symbols of success, taste, and exclusivity, making them desirable for those seeking status. So what is that? Symbolic value of possessions. Isn't that interesting? Acquiring status symbols can provide a quick but fleeting sense of accomplishment, reinforcing the cycle of seeking more, thus feeding into us not having a sense of enough. That's why a lot of us have no sense of enough. So while we are up, we should always remember that we were not always there And therefore, we should use the comfort of being up to drive us to prepare for when we no longer are able to enjoy that level of status, whether it is through age or otherwise. You see, the fear of failure or rejection can also drive status orientation. People may pursue status as a way to avoid criticism, judgment, or even being overlooked. Perfectionists often tie their self-worth to achievements and external validation, making them particularly vulnerable to status-seeking behavior. Perfectionism, folks, is a problem. We have to watch that. But there's something called imposter syndrome. Even high achievers may feel like frauds and constantly seek status to prove their worth to themselves and others. Oh, Jesus, our society is chock full with them. You see, when individuals lack a sense of purpose and fulfillment in their lives, they may turn to external markers of success to fill the void. Status becomes a substitute for deeper meaning. But you see, without a clear sense of purpose, people may seek status as a way to feel significant or to distract themselves from existential or pragmatic questions. And that is known as existential anxiety. The pursuit of status often leads to temporary satisfaction, followed by a return to baseline happiness and the need to seek more. So while insecurity is not the sole cause of status orientation, it is often at the heart of it. Insecurity can manifest in various ways. Fear of being unworthy. The belief that one is not inherently worthy of love, respect, or even belonging can drive the need for external validation. The need for control. Status can provide a sense of control in an unpredictable world, helping to alleviate feelings of vulnerability and helplessness. What about masking vulnerability? Relentlessly pursuing status can be a way to hide insecurities and present a confident, successful facade to the world. Could you imagine what the behavior of a Lali drain mentality who escaped detailed screening, received a pass, and ended up at the highest elected position in any country could be, even though the status of the position demands a different behavior? Oh, Gid. This is where you see the old saying, you cannot get anything from a bag of coals except dust. We don't have to look too far for the answer to that disturbing question, as we experienced it right here firsthand from 1995 to 2022 for the most part. You see, recognizing the root causes of status orientation is the first step toward breaking free from its grip. But we have to develop self-awareness. We have to reflect on why status matters to us and whether it aligns with our true values and goals. We have to build intrinsic self-worth. Focus on qualities like kindness, resilience, and creativity that are independent of external validation. Folks, we have to learn to practice gratitude once more. We have to shift our focus from what we lack to what we already have, fostering a sense of contentment and being able easily, effortlessly to say thanks and to show thanks. We have to seek meaningful goals. Pursue goals that bring intrinsic satisfaction and align with our passions and values, so that when we go out there to work, because we love what we do so much, we will never work a day in our life. We have to limit social comparisons. Reduce exposure to social media or environments that trigger comparison and status anxiety. Somebody called me recently to ask me if I see what somebody write about me or post on one of the, I don't know if it's Facebook or what. And I shut them down. I said, did they write about you? No. I said, because you're not happening. They don't even know you live in. There's one. And two, for that kind of person to be in your feed, it tells me more about you than it tells me about them. Because how come they're not in my feed? A lot of silence that was met by. And I said, are we through here? Well, I guess so. Okay, have a good one. And I'm gone. You think that person will call me again to tell me this stupidness? Nonsense? Who writing? Belly must be touching their back. Hungry like hell. Hello, folks. Nothing phases me. Nothing phases me. You see, I therefore propose status orientation is often driven by a combination of insecurity, social conditioning, evolutionary instincts, and cultural narratives. So while status can provide temporary validation, it rarely leads to lasting fulfillment. By addressing the underlying insecurities and shifting the focus to intrinsic values, individuals can break free from the pressure of status seeking and build a more authentic, satisfying life. True self-worth, folks, comes from within, not from external markers of success. You're only fooling yourself. Do you know of anyone in any sphere of leadership who is status-oriented, or for whom the lack of status proves empty and devoid of any substance? Call name, folks, I'm going to whistle. Do you know of anyone in leadership who is gung-ho on external markers to be identified as a success and who has no regard for self-worth from within? Do you know of anyone in leadership who lacks confidence simply because he or she lacks confidence in themselves? They don't believe in themselves, but yet for all projects brashness, venom, and crass at every opportunity. Didn't I ask you? Call names. I will whistle. You see, as a nation, we have all been privy to one such leader who has been around for so goddamn long that several members of our society take their cue from that decrepit individual and believe that that is how leadership is to be expressed. In other words, the silence of so many and the indifference of so many have helped to normalize that crap. Of course, you know, I reach where I'm going now. Tropical Trump, the former Prime Minister of Grenada, and we have to say regretfully, is a public figure whose actions and behaviors appear status-oriented at every turn due to how he saw the nature of his role and the erroneous expectations he thought came with political leadership. However, it's important to approach this question with nuance, as attributing status orientation to an individual requires a deeper understanding of that individual's motivations, values, and the context in which they operate. So let's just take a closer look. You see, political leaders, by virtue of their roles, are often required to project an image of authority, competence, and influence. But could you imagine a person of flawed character projecting such image? It can't hold up. It is quite obvious that authority, competence, and influence will be misinterpreted by that idiot, and status orientation will become commonplace. You see, it is not unreasonable for a most uneducated voter population to expect their leader or leaders to embody success, confidence, and even prestige. Hey, nothing wrong with that. The lack of critical thinking will render them unable to rationalize these qualities, causing such authentically fraudulent leaders to emphasize their false status to maintain credibility and trust among the unthinking. You see, leaders are symbolic figures, and their personal image often reflects the image of the country they represent. This can lead to a focus on status as a way to elevate national pride. This was not to be in the case of Tropical Trump. As his demeanor demonstrated, what you see is what you get, rendering him a seriously flawed individual and therefore extremely poor representation of the majority of Grenadians. You see, when more people voted, they get rid of him. Because it is actually true that he does not represent the majority of people in Grenada. In competitive political environments, maintaining status can be a strategic necessity. For Tropical Trump, who served multiple terms as Prime Minister, erroneously at that, regretfully at that, status orientation was surely tied to a vote farm, which he developed over time by delivering handouts to a large swath of our people all over the Tri-Island state, rendering them perpetually dependent and entitled, much to their peril, to the point where they are today stuck in the quadrant of poor and vulnerable, a legacy Tropical Trump cannot get away from. Their penchant to gravitate towards Tropical Trump render them useless to the society today. Ask the Ministry of Labor how many work permits people are applying for. We don't have an employment problem in Grenada. We have an unemployability problem in Grenada because 1995 to 2022 was the germination of that. Sad. But you see the power of critical thinking, folks, and logical deduction. I have no PhD in mathematics, the subject that is the mother of all logical deduction and reasoning. I don't. But I have sense, though. I have sense. You see, Tropical Trump's personal history and ambitions may also play a role in his apparent status orientation. Even though he holds a PhD in mathematics, as I said just now, a subject known to be the mother of all logical deduction and reasoning, his conduct has never found congruence with that. This high achiever carried with him a mindset of striving for power and recognition, which has indeed translated into status-oriented behavior. That is why today he is suffering from status malnutrition. You see, in Grenada and the broader Caribbean context, we have been taught to strive for status and respect because they are tied to leadership and achievement. But some cultural factors that might influence behavior like that, just give me a minute. Respect for authority. Caribbean societies often place a high value on respect for leaders and authority figures, which can encourage status-oriented behavior. However, that was not to be the experience with Tropical Trump, as he enjoyed punishing people opposed to him. He enjoyed victimizing people who he could not use and did not care for. He uses, up to today, the most debased of language to diminish his critics, and generally behaves in a most disrespectful of manners consistently. Yet for all, he expects people to respect the office he held while he was in it, when on a daily basis he brought it into odium and disrepute. Could you imagine that? Look at him. He continues to be disrespectful and say sasaye, all kind of nonsense, causing many to have no time for him at all, at all, at all. You see, leaders in small island nations like Grenada are often seen as representatives of the nation's aspirations, which can lead to a focus on status as a way to inspire and motivate. This was not to be during all of the tenure of Tropical Trump. Our greatness as a people was put on hold because of massive distractions from that dirtiness for such an overextended period. Thank God for his mercies today that we can all say together, Grenada is really a great place. There is greatness within every Grenadian. So when one is driven by status, massive pressure results from status starvation. Again, I say, you see where this is going, folks? Plenty fire today, you know. Let's take a break and we'll come right back.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks, wonderful, and welcome back. For those of you, as I always say, just joining, please. It's a plum-pleasing pleasure to have you. Do the honorable thing. Hit the share button. Tag your friends, because this one ain't making joke this week. And we're going forward hard. You know, when you think of the people who have volunteered, like myself, you know, to stand in the gap, to protect our gains since 23rd June 2022. And you juxtapose us with, oh God, the people who are out front and center, trying to be the mouthpieces to rescue Grenada, so to speak. All you have to say is yikes. Yikes. It's a real phenotype, you know. I met a particular individual who was very supportive of that rubbish, the 1995 to 2022 for the most part rubbish. Who tell me, man, you need to stop saying that when you're saying that on your program, and this thing does make me cringe. Because when I see the people and how they're behaving in truth, I wonder, well, how I could have been supporting that for all these times, and I didn't even know these people were there. I say, you didn't know because you didn't want to know. These people were literally trained to be how they are and who they are, useless to society. That is why a lot of them believed that the twice monthly payment should have been the same salary they're getting twice per month. When you and I know, many of them ain't even worth the one salary that they break up in two to give them because it doesn't work. And then you have a leader coming to tell you this crap. Lord, have mercy on us, folks. That's all you could say. Lord, have mercy. Folks, we need to go forward just how we're going so that these people could become what you call obsolete and never ever to get a footing in the local political arena going forward. These people are dumb and they have failed and they must never ever be given a chance again because we are enlightened. You see, as we continue on our important piece of critical thinking here, on the issue of whether or not we know anyone who is so status-oriented, I proffer that the bravados you see put on there by Tropical Trump can only be attributed to his insecurities and genuine lack of confidence. You could say what you want, that's my belief, and I know correct. You see, this shows that even successful leaders are known to grapple with self-doubt or the need for validation. You see, the immense responsibility of leading a nation can create pressure to constantly prove oneself, leading to a focus on status as a measure of success, especially if such leader is extremely weak on character, integrity, and all other positive virtues of decent human beings. Folks, I'm taking my time, and I'm stressing because I don't want all you to misinterpret me, You see, political leaders often face criticism and opposition, which can fuel a desire to assert their status and legitimacy, especially when they are known to not have an ounce of humility in them, but an oversized opinion of themselves. You see, leaders who have spent decades in public service may feel a heightened need to secure their legacy, which can manifest as status-oriented behavior, especially as everywhere such leader turns, he or she can hear justifiable negatives, which they would prefer not to be associated with. But folks, this seals their legacy in the unkind column of history. Folks, it is very important to note that status orientation in leaders is not inherently negative. When balanced with a genuine and honest commitment to public service, not thieving while in public service, but just to public service, it can be a tool for achieving meaningful outcomes. This is certainly not to be for Tropical Trump. Folks, after all these years in politics, to be on the waning years of one's career, and all of these negatives could be genuinely true reflections of anyone who served for over 40 years. Hear me now? This has to be plenty pressure, You see, Tropical Trump's apparent status orientation can be concluded upon as a combination of the demands of political leadership, personal ambition, cultural expectations, and the need to project strength and legitimacy weighed against the lack of sound character. While insecurity may play a role in some cases, it's equally likely that his focus on status has been a strategic response to his own character flaws in relation to the challenges and responsibilities of leading a small island nation. Ultimately, the true measure of a leader lies not in their status, but in their ability to serve their people and create lasting positive change. Folks, haven't you seen how our spanking new, genuinely young looking, not shoe polish hair, tight clothes, socks in crotch? No. Because he looked like he's still 17 years old. Haven't you seen how he connects with the people of Grenada, with the young people? What does that say? Folks, if you are not paying attention, you will always be surprised when the NDC under his leadership calls a rally. You will always be surprised that whatever field they go in, it will be ram-crammed. I will not be surprised because I pay attention. Young people just want to be around him. Young people he has a magnet for them. Look at him playing cricket with some young group in his constituency, grounding with them. Folks, that is the mark of humility, not ostentatiousness and nonsense and looking for status and and haughty. Oh no! We see here, folks, picture yourself as an individual who lacks every facet of integrity and who donates his or her life to politics under the guise of being in the service of people, and whose every move has been to enrich himself or herself at the expense of the same people. Could you imagine that after booby-trapping the majority of unsuspecting natives of that country, encircling them with total indigence and deprivation, rendering them totally uneducated and bound by the fangs of poverty, you start to relax in total confidence that you are irreplaceable and can't be beat? Having tampered, of course, with the systems and institutions, mangling them totally, with each led by incompetent yes men and yes women. You heard what I say? Yes women. Put in positions to do the leader's bidding. And boom, a little boy from another parish pivots from his successful career when he could not sit back and say and do nothing anymore. And he decided to rescue that country from this nonsense. Interestingly, so many people got accustomed to this nonsense that it was normalized by people we least expect to sit back and accept that crap, while the entire civilization plummeted to the abyss we are forced with tremendous difficulty to climb out of today. That status that was craved and enjoyed by these infidels was so sweet that losing it is categorized as a travesty, to the point where we can see them and hear them today ascribing all their nastiness to the new administration. That is as a result, of course, of the tremendous pressure they are now under, with their filthy accusations and attributions coming fast and furious, only able to excite their loyal core base, comprised of the indigent of our society, whom they single-handedly stifled into perpetual dunceness, rendering them in the main almost useless to the wider society today. Folks, I did warn you to prepare for some frankness. I told you this thing is off the chain, didn't I? Could you imagine having to sit outside of the precincts of power today and watch this so-called inexperienced team of novices led by Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, working with a deep philosophy to deliver to people and develop people in the main, and making significant moves with the nation's money being spent on areas to reflect evidence of meaningful investment in just 2.5 short years. And you are wrong for so goddamn long, 23 years, close to half of our post-independence period, and your achievements cannot match up. That has to be plenty pressure, we. Could you imagine parading up and down the country with the same faces of your dedicated inferior phenotype who donated themselves to your vote farm to have meetings under the theme of preparing to rescue Grenada? And every time the same administration you want to rescue Grenada from has an event, they are attracting rammed halls and playing fields. That has to be plenty pressure, we. Could you imagine when your individual rebuttal to the national budget falls flat with your intention to be the one to wrap up from your side just before the Minister of Finance, whom you expected to close the government's debate in the House, was found to be not so as you expected? You behave like the errant little boy, proving how much you are still in charge of your rat trap organization, leading a walk out of the parliament. That has to be plenty pressure, we. Could you imagine all industrial disputes quelled upon the Deacon Mitchell and his NDC administration taking office? 2.5 years later, when you were in office, you had to manipulate union leaders in order to keep them quiet. He doesn't have to do that. He's just delivering to the workers. That has to be plenty pressure, we. Could you imagine children of your supporters today are not inspired and motivated to support you and whatever your organization has evolved into because you old and stale? Even relatives of what's left of your elected colleagues are slipping away. That has to be plenty pressure, we. Imagine close friends and even relatives of yours who you could make no use of anymore, who were dumped and left for destitute and dead, eventually pass on. And you have the nerve to pretend that you're in grief? All this time is your conscience that bothering you badly? That has to be plenty pressure, we. While you are live making mawet at Happy Hill Secondary School and can hardly muster a proper live audience on the broadcast, an ex-friend of yours was appearing on another platform and was able to muster more viewers. Huh? 3 to 4 times yours. No wonder the calculated pressure almost saw your demise live. That has to be plenty pressure, we. Could you imagine while you were forcing a line with this nonsense of a mockery of our democracy under the guise of the People's Parliament, an ex-friend was talking and taking off his gloves, telling people all what you allegedly paid him to do on your behalf, while defecating all over you, letting people know exactly who you are to prove me totally correct that you ain't good and you ain't good long? That has to be plenty pressure, we. Fancy living on the edge every day, angry, venomous, and only spewing lies about the new administration, taking everything that they straightforwardly say and do. They're saying things straightforwardly, they're doing things straightforwardly, and you twisting them to excite your base of this special phenotype while littering the airwaves with nonsense as if to pull a dark veil over the entire nation in this time here, so now, of total and irreversible light. And failing at each turn. Could you imagine that? That has to be plenty pressure, we. Could you imagine having to spend your ill-gotten gains to hire several people to appear on social media as advocates, all of whom could be correctly classified as needing special education, and therefore they should be riding on the short bus? And in your attempt to regain the status that you are starved out of, you have several questionable characters hiding behind fake profiles, attacking decent citizens and attempting to project who they are onto these decent citizens, and are being exposed one by one. Hey, that has to be plenty pressure, we. Goodly folks, come on, man, come on. Picture yourself being in public service for an overextended period, and know that you're out, not around the precincts of leadership anymore. You are ridiculed, jeered at, and justifiably disrespected and scorned because of how you used the power that the people loaned to you against many of the same people. Could you imagine? You are fainting at a podium at which you are just finished lying through your teeth, and the floodgates of negative sentiments opened up in your direction. That has to be a lot of added pressure, boy. But as the old saying goes, how check brings itself, so you give it blue. Could you imagine the St. George's University has been in Grenada, having started on Grandans Beach, in what used to be the Grandans Beach Hotel, and expanded to True Blue, where their permanent campus is today, a citadel in itself. They could not get government that you presided over to repair the road leading to it for all of its existence. You headed a government for 23 of those long years that school has been in existence. You never thought it fit to deliver proper road to the residents of that area, and this great contributor to our GDP. And in just 2.5 short years of an administration of rookies, according to you, the entire neighborhood in True Blue could boast of a totally new roadway. That has to be plenty pressure, we. And of course, we get to the evening of Monday, 17th March, which proved to be very emotional for lots of conscious Grenadians. Me for one. Trust me, it was hard to watch. Heart-rending indeed. I was shocked and frozen to witness for myself via a short clip of the live someone forwarded to me urgently that demonstrated in no uncertain terms the climax of calculated pressure that resulted in the blacking out of Grenada's longest-serving politician, who does not have a concept of enough. Folks, it is my submission that as long as he persists on not calling it a day, more of the same is likely to be repeated to cap the absolute disgrace which fate will surely allot him. You know, when I say it, I could have only recalled when I saw that, I could have only recalled what Sawandi Fabio Sam once said. I'm only paraphrasing here now. He should not go so easily. He should stick around long enough for us to see him lose his mind. Words to that effect. What a darn shame. We could be speaking of a man who behaves like a really annoying cold that would not go away, yet for all expects people by virtue of the position he once held, which he will never hold again. Hashtag keep gone, and he not coming back, to just stupidly respect him while he disrespects everybody every time he opens his mouth. Could you imagine this man publicly referring to people as Bola man and what have you? What kind and level of man is this? I can tell you, a man that is no darn good and has been no darn go long, a lolly drain man. You see, I viewed as many public feeds as I could have the following day after this blacking out episode, and chose to highlight one by Bernardine Andrew. Quote, I've said it before. If people are not prepared to say it as it is, then just maybe you should refrain from commenting. Of course, she calls his name. Says the most nasty things about people, all in the name of politics. Last evening, before he started to black out, his words, not mine, he was referring to people as dunce, etc. Nasty breeds nasty. Kind words bring back kind echoes. People are saying nasty things about, calling his name, of course. And some people so vexed. Joke them, you're not getting blood. He set himself up for that by the things he continues to say. I cannot and will never condone wrong, but you live by the sword and you will die by the sword. Wishing, of course, she calls his name, a speedy recovery. And I trust that moving forward, he can change his narrative. This is solely my view and opinion. If you do not like it, scroll on, please. Unquote. Folks, the only how I could describe that is as brilliant. I listened to the sentiments of many people and was able to read quite a bit. What a pity emotions got the better of so many on either side of the spectrum of sentiments. I believe, like Mr. Tillman Thomas, who stood out in the Parliament during the 1989 joint sitting of the Houses of Parliament in tribute to the late Prime Minister Herbert Blair's. He highlighted Mr. Blair's stubbornness and was surely not there to sugarcoat things like all his other colleagues, who all of a sudden were overcome by their emotions at the final political tribute. No, he could not be like them and cast aside all else about the whole man who did things his way. We all need to learn to put emotion in its place and not allow it to dictate the pace for us, for fear that we lose out in the quadrant of consistency and be correctly branded as flip-flops and hypocrites. That is precisely why I admire the candor of Miss Bernardine Andrews' sentiments. Sickness is someone else, is nothing to gloat and rejoice about. Hell no. And I will not condone that for 1 minute. Anyone who would do this has a lot of maturing to do. But the open way in which many were moved to rejoice and even hypocritically wish Tropical Trump a speedy recovery, either before or after somewhat rejoicing, proves my point. What I can say is because of the role Tropical Trump has played in the past, with a record of being the only leader to rack up so many accolades in the local politics, seeing him going down the road of not knowing when to leave the proverbial dance at the ripe old age of nearly 80 ignites the pity so many of us mature ones feel for him. Really sad indeed. Thank God for his mercies that we can all say together, Grenada is really a great place. There is greatness within every Grenadian. When one is driven by status, massive pressure results from status starvation. Let's take our final break and we'll come back with more. If you thought that was fire, wait till the next segment, the final segment. So hang in there. Brace yourselves, folks, because it's not getting easier. Let's take in our final break.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. Wonderful. And welcome back. This is, of course, our final segment, but let me just put something in train here so that right, so that is in train. I didn't drink my little drink, so give me 1 minute and we'll come right back. Wonderful. I think it's always important for the throat to be properly quenched, because this segment here is going to be on fire. Folks, I've always told you that Tropical Trump behaves like if the faceless, nameless monster winds him up, and sends him out each day, each time that he comes out, with orders not to return home without making a complete and utter ass of himself. Interestingly, he seems to comply each time. People who know me well would tell you that I used to drink, and I enjoyed my share of alcohol, to include Rivers. Oh, that was my favorite local rum. El Dorado 15. And of course, very hopsy foreign beers. Sam Adams, Yingling, Foster's, just to name a few, but quite a variety of them. I could not have socialized unless alcohol was in the mix. But about 4 years ago, I remembered suffering an unusual feeling of dizziness and nausea. Had no clue where they were coming from. Checked myself in with my doctor, who happens to be the owner and managing director of St. Augustine's, Dr. Lutz Amici. He was not on island at the time, and I had to settle for his GP on call. I was seen to thoroughly, and as a precaution was kept for observation overnight. All the tests came back with good results. But after some serious questioning, a Dr. Trujillo realized that alcohol in the mix needs to be either reduced or done away with altogether. Folks, it had nothing to do with the alcohol, But if you have alcohol in the system of trying to find out where is this dizziness and nausea coming from, you're complicating things. That was easy for me. And since June of 2021, I have not consumed any alcohol whatsoever. I don't even drink Ferrol, because I think it has 8 to 12% alcohol in it. Folks, I say this to say I made the choice because the dizziness or lightheadedness I felt back then to warrant that detailed medical checkup mimicked feeling inebriated, drunk. And I said to myself, so as to avoid confusion, if ever that feeling were to reoccur, I want to know that it is not as a result of my drinking. Interestingly, between then and now, I may have had a couple more episodes, though not as severe, and got to find out by a process of elimination over time. It has to do with MSG and split peas in food. Could you imagine, folks? Simple things like MSG and split peas. And hence, it is difficult for me to eat out or to eat from every and anybody. I pride myself on cooking my food and eating mostly at home. You see, that level of consciousness allows me to know whenever a bout of that said dizziness and nausea is coming on. So when people are in the public sphere, there is no shame in the game. If a fainting spell is about to come on, whether you refer to it as a blackout or just plain bad feelings, as old people used to refer to it, it means you are conscious enough, because this is not the first experience. I say no more. Going to an extremely hot school hall, especially now as the outside temperature has started to warm up as spring enters, all dressed up in the costume of our colonial masters, while all the mountains of other pressures are upon one, many of which I named earlier, and the many more I have not got around to naming, especially as you are not the youngest and close to 80 years. You must black out. And folks, stop saying block out. It is not block out. It is black out. You see, the negative way politics has morphed, as designed and curated by Satan's grandson himself over the period 1995 to 2022 for the most part, requires requisite energy just to be able to hold up, far less to endure, plus all the other self-imposed and self-inflicted pressures. Folks, let's face it, the number of people this man hit in the pocket with a view to rendering them bankrupt, skirting the laws of the nation just to inflict pain on his opponents, he surely cannot reap anything good from that behavior. This man has a nasty habit of using power of state loaned to him to severely stymie the growth and development of anyone whom he considered an enemy. Y'all forget that? Don't forget that, folks. And that is a sad, sad, sad reality. This man has been using power to punish people like he's a punisher. Should he persist on making public appearances and seeking to override the power loaned to him recently appointed, hand-picked television, while he proceeds to be an active remote, even though a badly damaged one? Trust me, there may very well be more of what we saw on Monday night to come. Folks, the power of karma is at work. And no matter how one attempts to choreograph it, karma will win all the time and every time, for it never loses an address. We are all called upon to treat our family, friends, and relatives consistently well, as they deserve, of course. So there is no guilt when they pass. This goes both ways. Children to parents and other guardians, and the other way around too. When you go to the funerals of people and you see some people behaving in a manner that takes mourning to another level, this could be for many reasons, to include, of course, love for that person that may be too late in being expressed. Guilt, therefore, is a reason many people live miserably thereafter. You see, many of us who have a penchant for collecting and amassing money and materials will soon realize that these are nothing when we become old and useless. Actualized people know this, and with good children, their resources are well managed to their benefit. Anyone with a modicum of sense gathered from paying close attention to things around them would tell you they agree with the point that with all the public display of vitriol and ridicule spouted in the direction of tropical Trump, now that old tiger has no teeth, must be igniting the fire in his soul, which causes him to miss the power he had to punish people. Life goes on in stages, folks, and thank God that era is over. When people have a habit of lying regularly and consistently, nobody believes them even in their moment of distress. Look at how the people in that school hall clapped when he uttered the words, "Sisters and brothers, I'm blacking out." The people doing the clapping could not have understood what he really said because of their mood and the atmosphere of that total opposition for all the good and positive things that are happening in the country today. My take on this is not the same as the majority who feel that these people will clap at anything to reflect how blind they are to his leadership. Oh no, we have to remember cults operate on a different level. He is their cult leader. They were never taught to think on their own. He does the thinking, all the thinking. So he's saying he is blacking out, required them to connect with him to boost him. And by clapping, they were telling him, come on, man, you can do this. This to me was only to realize that it was more serious than they imagined. I always urge you to pay attention, and you would see what the ordinary man who is programmed not to pay attention would see. The ability to think critically would allow anyone to realize all how the National Nasty Party is supposed to have a new political leader and by extension opposition leader. Nothing done by the surrogates, fake and otherwise, promotes this new leader. It is all about tropical Trump. After this revelation here, you may see a lame effort to so do. But what obtained from December 15th, 2024 to now, since that Ratifi convention, absolutely no serious effort is made to promote tropical Trump's replacement. Of course, they say, the man with the pepper sauce is boss, for he who pays the piper calls the tune. You see, when you are driven by status, and it is no more, status starvation induces pressure untold. Here are some signs that we here in Grenada have dealt with a Jezebel spirit. And we still continue to deal with this Jezebel spirit. I learned the following, for the most part, by following Kero Awad. I could not agree with him more when he said, if we really want to consider ourselves Christians, we have to understand that the manual for Christianity, the Bible, tells us the Jezebel spirit is one of the worst and destructive spirits around. It will turn kings into poor men and women into beggars. Women who are Jezebels are all beautiful on the outside, When men are Jezebels, though, they will make you think they have it all figured out to lure you in. The Jezebel spirit operates on a very insane level of deception. They don't love. They sit back and study you. They sit back and watch what matters to you the most. If you're looking only for handouts, that's all they will give you, and eventually turn you into the dependents they want you to be, so they can appear to be the Messiah to you in perpetuity. They watch your faith, they watch your purpose, and they watch your life. And then they capitalize on your weaknesses. They know how to pretend that they are aligned on the same mission as you. Oftentimes, they seem like they are sent from God. But they are usually so perfect in everything they do and how they appear, how they approach you, until their true color shows. By that time, you have already fallen so deep for the person, or at least what you hoped they were, to the point where now they have you under their control, under their manipulation. You pour every single effort of your heart, your mind, and your soul, only to find out that their actions don't align with anything that you thought they were. They will even cry and sometimes seem remorseful when you catch them in their lies. Do you think they're crying because they actually feel bad? Hell no. They are crying because they are disappointed in themselves for getting caught. A Jezebel doesn't really care like you think they do. They are masked. They are masked so well by the enemy just for you. Sometimes they show you that they are not here for any benefits, causing you to think that this person is actually genuinely loving you. When you find out the truth, it crushes you. You ask yourself, how? Why? Just how the enemy will perfect the plan to make you fall while on this path to God. That is why you need to pay attention and get spiritual, so that you can develop and nurture the spirit of discernment to spot a Jezebel from miles off. They are usually so well put together that they can make you feel they are the final piece to your puzzle. Their display is only a cover-up for their deep insecurities. We went through that already. A Jezebel spirit operates on validation, and you would realize that this person over time will seek validation, not from you, and not from you alone, but from countless others as well. Even when you catch them in their lies, they will surely be the one to be blamed. They're coming to blame you for that lie. This person walks with such an enemy soul in them that they have to suck the energy out of every single person around them. Always pay attention, folks, and pray that God of our universe shows us what people's true intentions are before you get serious to either follow them, support them, or get hitched to them. Weakness, folks, is a choice, but so is power and strength. We must make a conscious choice. The world gives us nothing willingly. We must take it with our own hands. We are nothing but dust in the wind. The gods do not favor the timid and the coward. Oh no, they bless those who rise even when they are broken, and those who keep fighting even when the world seems set against them. We were born to struggle and then to conquer, and carve our names into the bones of the earth. Pain is our teacher, and fear, believe it or not, our companion. but neither will rule us. We will break our chains, shatter every doubt, and claim what is ours. This life is a battlefield, and I say, let us revel in it. Let us laugh as we walk into the storm, for we are destined to stand above it all. They call us crippled, broken, lost, but they do not see the fire within us. Today we will let them see that all how they try to manipulate us, we have broken free of their Jezebel spirit. So all you people who stand in the gap to protect this current administration against all the Jezebels of our society, continue to be renewed with the spirit of discernment, so that you could continue to stand in the gap confidently to guard this new freedom going forward, so that all this nonsense about rescuing Grenada could fall to zero, naught, and all the bad spirits and bad energies that we see creeping in between all around us, rebuke them, because they are only Jezebel spirits. Their success could only be short-lived. Find them out and expose them. You see how you all start to expose the fakes? Expose them when you find them out. I understand recently a lot of nonsense has been contrived against myself and others. And when these things were sent to an operator of one of the fake accounts, the operator said, no, I can't do that. I'm not doing that one. Because them thing not true, and I'm not doing that. Folks, you see how God is powerful? Even among the enemies, God is guiding them. But always remember, folks, you're all wasting your time, because I don't care. The only reason why I eat 3 meals a day is because I can't hold 4. You see how blessed I am? I live somewhere good. I don't dress in a crab hole and come out and take picture quick to put up on Facebook to make me look like things happening with me, you know. Oh no. I take care of my priorities. One phone I have, you know. I don't have 2. And the one phone is attached to a monthly account. It's not a phone that has no credit. Hello? You getting the message, folks? So when you think of all these blessings, why should I really be bothered about somebody with nonsense, putting out nonsense there about me? They are rebuked. People like that can only go around in circles. Have you ever seen progress in a circle? No, the circle contains any opportunity for progress. You see confidence, folks? Remember what I told you, you know, that single parent mother that I had bequeathed to me a lot of confidence, a lot of strength. So as long as I have my shilling in my hand, my sugar in my pan, I don't give a damn, because I live in good by God's grace. I live good. Grenada, folks, believe it or not, is a great place. There is greatness within every Grenadian. When one is driven by status, massive pressure results from status starvation. I am in, I am out, and watch me good, I'm gone. So thanks for joining. Continue to share. See you next week at the same time, same place for more extraordinary programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, Remain vigilant and stay lifted. Don't forget, stay focused. Don't be distracted by stupidness. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. No fake profiles, no fake names. Edward or Eddie Frederick. Subscribe, like, and share. And be prepared to receive your mental multivitamins as straight up as I deliver them. Toodaloo, folks. Have a productive week. And I wish you well. I wish you well. All the very best.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cool Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.